All right. So today what we're going to do is we're going to basically start from scratch, and instead of just kind of like gutting an already existing logging in, logging out application, we're going to instead just build it from scratch at the request of people here. I just full disclosure at the front, I don't know if this is going to work. We're probably going to come into a lot of issues, but we'll kind of work through this and we'll figure it out. So we're going to do a single resource. We'll just deal with a post for today, but we have to make sure that a user is logged in order for them to participate in that post. So they can view it all, but you can't write unless you're logged in. We'll do that. Now, I didn't really want to show this, but I didn't want to belabor the point that I didn't want to like build a CRUD app from scratch because it takes a little bit more time than I want. So there is something built in called Scaffold, which would essentially generate an entire CRUD app for you in one command. Now, this is a dangerous thing to show because I know a lot of people are just going to be super lazy and just do that instead. But you can kind of see what happens here. When I run this command right here, generate scaffold with post, and it's saying the name is going to be a string, the title is going to be a string, and the context is going to be a text box, like a lot more than just the bar chart 255, like more than 255 characters. This is all the stuff it's going to generate for you. The migration, the post model, I don't want this because I'm not using test unit anymore. I'm using RSpec instead. All of this, I don't know what post.yaml is. I know what routes is going to be. I have the controller and all of the things that you usually have in a CRUD app. Has the test I don't need, and then all this extra junk at the bottom. Like if I don't need the post.js.coffee or post.css.sass and all that kind of stuff, the issue, like it says right here, it says while a scaffold will get you up and running quickly, a lot of people avoid it because there's a bunch of stuff that you may not need. You don't have that kind of customization that if you were to build something bespoke or custom, that you don't know everything that's going on when you run this command. And if you are interviewing with someone and they see that you've just run this command, because we can tell because there's a few things that I'll show you. Like I can tell immediately if you've run this command. You have to tell me everything that you've run. Like when I point to something and I say, explain this to me, you better be able to explain it. If not, that's like a huge red flag in my mind. But just for the demonstration purposes today, well, I'm going to regret this, but we'll run this. So let's get up 3 windows.
So you don't have to create the migration?
I don't need to create the migration.
I didn't know, how can you tell what features you want in your post?
There.
It does it. It builds the migration.
It builds the migration for you based on what
you.
So you put the name string, title string.
I'll make it a little bit bigger.
Okay. I mean, technically, you could also use that to just generate models and give it extra options. So you're not scaffolding the entire thing. But back to John's point, obviously.
Yeah.
Not that you do when you're.
Oh, I'm gonna regret this. Okay, so Rails generate. Did I mess something up? Okay, I probably have to do Rails new. Let's call this posts. No. Okay.
So are you just using this to save time? Okay.
Oh, right now all I'm doing is I'm just creating a new Rails app. CD posts. So I need to create a new Rails app. That's the first thing I ran. It's just that command that you found in last Thursday's worth of curriculum. And then when I created the Rails app, I just CD'd into it and I said, Rails generate scaffold post. And then all of this stuff was, when you run this command, it's not magic. Well, it kind of is magic. But when I type in this command, this basically just runs all of this stuff. So it creates the migration, it creates the model, creates the resources, like all the routes that you're going to need, creates the controller, creates the views, and then it also creates a whole bunch of other stuff. This you may not ever use. This one you may never use. Like, I don't know what JSON.jbuilder is because I never use it.
All to use the API.
Okay.
We'll use it as an API.
Cool. I don't use CoffeeScript, and I've never used SAS.
I mean, I feel like after we sort of get through this and continue going through these a few more iterations, like we're going to have the way that we like to set up things, right? Like our show and our edit and our view and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're essentially doing this, but like we're going to be copying and pasting from our older files, right?
Yep.
I mean, so there's no real reason to run something like this when we sort of have the way that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it like that's common, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
has his way of doing things.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is a lot.
There's a way to configure Rails so that it uses your templates. Eventually, maybe you'd be like, oh, I always wanted the same way. I'll build and configure my own, like, templating to use as every time I build a new Rails app.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things I don't need, but it's going to be there because I ran this command. But we just created a CRUD app from scratch. So I'm going to, let's create a seed file real quick so you can kind of see inside of this create posts just based on what I passed in inside the terminal. This is what's generated. When I go down to the model, there's a post model right here, which is great. It's already generated for me. The way that I can tell that you haven't run this on your own, though, is this section right here. So it tells you all things, which is great because it's like, oh, like I know absolutely now it's get/post/1. Do you want me to change the color, or is this good? The color's fine? Okay.
Because all these functions are already there.
So, I mean, this is all the stuff that you usually do, right? Some of it is a little bit different. If it's like, if it saves, like I'm going to redirect to the post and say, like, I don't know what, like this, the format HTML is saying, like, when I make a request, remember when we said, when we send a request over via HTTP, it says, like, what am I willing to accept back? Sometimes you're willing to accept text. Sometimes you're willing to accept HTML. And sometimes you're willing to accept JSON. So it's kind of like if I say, I just want JSON, like just a string of stuff in like a hash form, this is what I'm good. This is what's going to come back to me. Again, this is just to show, like, we can build this really quick so we don't have to build the entire CRUD app from scratch. So let's create a seeds file. All right, and let's create 30 posts, 10 posts, 10 times do. We'll do a post.create. I need a faker gem file. We have to do a name, title, and content. What shall we use today? Content we'll use for Chuck Norris. We'll use Family Guy and Hey Arnold. Okay, so we'll call this we'll say that this is the name. Oh no. All right, so I'm just creating 10 posts, each with a unique Hey Arnold location title. Hey Arnold character is going to be the name of the post, and then the content is going to be some random Chuck Norris fact. All right, so what's that?
Can you bang?
I could bang, sure. What's the difference between bang and no bang?
What doesn't say we did?
Create does .new and .save. Create bang raises an issue if something blows up. Okay, let's bundle install and bundle exec for Rails DB drop just in case it already exists. Create, migrate, and seed. And we'll do bundle exec Rails server to get things running. All right, so I'm here. Let's go to all the posts. So I can see all the posts, which is nice. It's also, I mean, it's prettier than what we have, right? Like, what's that? Okay, I should not have taught this. This is what you're telling me, right? So this is all the posts, you know, all the name, title, content. I mean, there's no magic here. It's just, this is a table, so it looks a little bit nicer than us just putting stuff out to the screen. We can show each individual one. We can edit each individual one.
Edit
Edit. The message is a little bit nicer, you know, in terms of it's like green instead of like not green. We can go back. We can delete this one if we don't like Mr. Hyun. We can also create a new post of Platoon is great. Wow. And then we can create a new post like that as well. So we've created a CRUD app in just one command. It's here. Let's get some authentication in here. So let's make it so that you can't, unless you're logged in, you can't have a new post or something like that. So,
Doesn't pair program.
what's that?
Chuck Norris doesn't pair program.
Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh.
Chuck Norris doesn't pair program. Chuck Norris went out of an infinite loop.
Wow. Immutable. His beard is immutable.
Yeah.
That's with the singles.
Chuck Norris can binary search unsorted data. It's a programming joke because in order to do a binary search, it has to be sorted. Otherwise, you can't really like split it. Remember, you have a random numbers between like 1 and like 5 numbers that are sorted, and you have to choose like where 15 is in that giant array of stuff or something like that. Chuck Norris can instantiate an abstract class. Oh, this is a quantum cryptography does not work on Chuck Norris. Okay. Well, all right. So first things first, we'll add gem Devise to our gem file. I'll just put it right underneath here. So gem Devise, and then we will bundle install this. So I'll kill this, bundle install. What's that? Yes.
I'm going to sleep.
All right, so the next thing we run is going to be, once we have the gem inside of the app, we have to create all of the, like all the starting point. And luckily it comes with this, like when we did Rails G, like generate model or something like that, there's a generator that Devise has specifically where it's bundle exec Rails generate Devise install, which is saying like, even though we've bundle installed, we've brought all the stuff in, we still need to have Rails generate the initializer files. So I run through this, and there's a number of things that have happened. They've created 2 files for me. One's called devise.rb, and one's devise.english.yaml. So, and then they give you some ideas of like what you should do if you want to send like email. They're going to give you an option to send email. Make sure you have flash messages in your application.html.erb. Okay, let me grab that and I'll put that in there. Application.html.erb. Where did they want it? Let's see. Just put it anywhere. Okay. All right. My number 2, it says make sure you have root URL defined as something inside of your config/routes. Just grab this here. So what is root to? Have we seen this before? What is it?
It's just the root / it takes you to index page.
Yep. So before, without this line,
Get that.
If
Hey,
I-
welcome to Rails.
yeah, if I go just to like without any slash at the end, it says, oh, it's not running. It's bad. It says, yeah, you're on Rails. Like, this is not helpful for me. But if I go, say, if I add this line that says root to post index, saying whenever I make the request just to slash, it's going to take me to, it's going to show me the post controller index action. So even though like I'm not at /posts anymore, it does load all the posts because that's what, like when I go to just slash, its default is going to go here. It's the home page, exactly. Now, when we ran this command a little bit earlier, he created a couple of things for us. So let's just kind of see what devise.rb gives us. It gives us a lot of text. It's like a wall of text with a few pieces of code in here because it tells you exactly what you are able to do with Devise in terms of logging in and logging out. Now, there's so many different ways you can set this up, but there are some things in here like this one's going to strip all the white space keys when somebody enters their email. So if they enter a bunch of spaces, it'll just strip it. So it's like if you have someone signing up for your thing, they have to, and you send them a link to confirm their email address. It's like you must confirm within like 1 day or 10 hours or 3 days, and this is like the default here. So you have that option.
Sure. What is this called again?
So this is field sidebar. So when you run Rails generate Devise install, you're installing Devise inside of your entire application.
Cool. And this is the default.
And this is all the default stuff that is here. Now, all I have to do to make this, so let's read this, right? It says, a period that the user is allowed to confirm their account before their token becomes invalid. For example, if you set it to 3 days, the user can set their account within 3 days when the email was sent, but on the 4th day, they can't use the token anymore. So all I have to do is just uncomment line 133, and then it works. So there's a lot of stuff underneath the hood, but for us as like developers, like we don't want to think about what's going on underneath what we do, but it's like, this is nice and it's built in for us.
Like for this one, you probably have to have a bunch of the other like email stuff turned on first.
You have to, I mean, you have to configure that. You have to be able to send emails too, and we haven't
That
gotten
was
there
the
yet.
first thing. That was the first set of messages that came up when you did Devise install. There's like 3. See that step 1 to 3. You should do this before you start to deal with stuff in terms of mailers. It gives you instructions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and other things are just kind of cool. It's like if you sign in for some reason, that you can just say like, I want you to remember me for 2 weeks or for 2 months or something like that. My token will be good for this amount of time. So there's like a number of things that you may or may not want to use inside of here. If you want to say I want a longer password, like unfortunately, it's so annoying now. You have to have 16 characters. It has to have like capital letters and symbols and, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's all here. So I'm not going to make any changes. All right, so I have my CRUD app. It's just posts right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a user from Devise. So I'm not going to do it manually. I'm going to just allow Devise to take care of that for me. So bundle exec Rails generate Devise user. And it creates 3 things for me. It creates a migration, a model, and like all the routes needed for Devise to take care of things. So let's take a look at the model that we get from Devise. So just by running that Rails generate Devise user, I have a brand new user, and all of this stuff is built in by default. This is all like the internal plumbing for Devise, so to speak. And we can remove or add things inside of here to match up with the the initializer that we saw a little bit earlier. Then if we take a look at create Devise user, we see that users have by default like an email, an encrypted password, and all of this extra stuff that we have here. And then finally, when we go to routes, we have Devise for users. So, I mean, our routes are pretty simple when we look at them, but when we really run through them, and we do bundle exec Rails routes here, you can kind of see that all that I really have that I wrote earlier that we know is all these post things. And just that one tiny little line, this Devise for users on line 2, gives us all of this extra stuff. Like that's how powerful Devise is. It takes care of all the logging in, logging out, signing in, signing out, all of that stuff. So let's see. I'm going to close out a bunch of these windows, and we'll start putting some stuff in. So bundle exec Rails server. So we're here. Oh, I didn't migrate. Okay, so it says migrations are pending. Do bundle exec Rails db migrate. And then bundle exec Rails server. All right, so everything works just the same because even though I've just added Devise, but I haven't actually configured it into my application quite yet. So I'm gonna add something. If I want something to show up at the top or the bottom of every single page, which ERB file do I look at? Layouts?
Yeah.
All right, so layouts, and then which one? Mailer?
Application.
Application, okay. So I'm gonna just shove a nav bar inside of here. And this is just copied over. So let's kind of read through what we've got here. Yes. Sorry? Does it go inside the body? Oh, my mistake. All right, let me fix up some spacing because it's driving me insane. Okay, so there's a few things that are here. Actually, we should probably give our user a name, no? Or do you want to give your user a name or no? It's up to you. Sure. Okay, so create user. We have to add a name in here. So t.string for name. Okay. I'm gonna have to drop the database real quick, so because I'm lazy. Let's try it one more time. And okay, so you can kind of see we have this register page and we have this login page. This little code that I put inside of my body basically says at the top I'm going to have essentially like a navigation section, like the nav bar at the top of Amazon. It's always the same thing, the search bar, the login, like your orders, your cart, or something like that. Basically, Devise and many like authentication softwares give you access to something called current user. Current user is the person that is currently logged in. If you're logged in, then they save that onto current user. It's available globally. Similarly, like when you click on something, you have access to the params hash. No matter what page you're on, you have access to a params hash. Or if you're, yeah, that's the best one I can think of. So basically, current user is something built into Devise, which is going to see, am I logged in? If so, save that user's into a variable called current user. So if you're logged in, it's going to say, hello, whatever your name is, and you have the ability to log out. If you're not logged in, you're going to have this thing that says register and login.
And that's passed to the controllers?
Pardon?
It's through the controllers it's passed to?
It's through Devise. Like Devise takes care of that for you. So you don't actually see the controller. It's like you can, if you like, we'll get to that point where we're going to actually have to change a few things because we added a name functionality. But if you look inside the controllers, like there's no user controller here at all, right? It's because Devise behind the scenes is taking care of all of that for you. So as of right now, I can register for something. I have no view for this even. Like this is all back behind the scenes, like Devise is taking care of this for me, which is scary and good at the same time. So I'm going to sign up. I'm going to have john@email.com. My password's 123123.
Yeah, I mean,
There is no name, and as of right now, it's not required. So I'm going to sign up, and now I'm logged in. So it says, hello, whatever. Like, because I don't have a name, like current, so I've logged in. Current user is saving that, like the user that who I am, but I don't have a name yet, so it says hello blank. But I have the ability to log out as well, and I can log back in using john@email.com. Let's do a wrong password. I'll just type in password. And then it just says invalid email or password. We didn't set any of this up. This was given to us for free by the gym. So if I go 123123, which is my password, I log in, it allows me to log in. So like we didn't really have to worry too much about setting up, like logging in and logging out on our own. And the reason behind that, like we heard Seth talk about, like we heard Kara talk about, like you're going to hear many people talk about when it comes to security. Security is really, really difficult. So like, trust me, like none of us in this room are smarter than the Stanford, MIT PhDs who are working on this full time. So just let them do their thing really well. They can't write software as well as we can. They can write no, they really can't. That's the thing. Like they're focused so much on cryptography and things like that. They can't create a CRUD app very well, probably. Who knows? So let the experts do what they're really good at. We'll do what we're really good at, which is just creating apps. We don't have to worry too much about logging in and logging out.
And so in this Devise thing that we have, so who controls Devise? Like, because people are updating, right? Okay, so there's a all right. And this company it's on GitHub, right? But people are constantly updating and trying to. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that company is doing it.
Like the same way that ThoughtBot is like the creator of many gems and systems that people use. It's actually FactoryBot now.
FactoryBot, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are a lot of agencies that build things that are useful. And by distributing it into open source, they're making the entire community better.
And then what Seth was saying is he uses Devise, but he also has a subscription service literally just for notifications saying, hey, update your system with the latest Devise.
So that's more about like when you start realizing how many dependencies you have on larger systems or other systems that you're not in control of, right? The more important it is for you to make sure that you are keeping up to date with those dependencies. It's kind of hard to do that if you don't have something that like supports you in finding that stuff out. So so people look to like further ways to have that notify you as opposed to you going out and looking like these are the 67 gems I used. Are they all up to date? Like, are there any major security issues that I need to think about?
Yeah.
So that's why they were using that.
All right, so let's say that you have some sort of website and you don't want people to be able to do anything unless they're logged in. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like if you are not logged in, with the web the way that it is, you want people to stand behind what they're saying, right? Like you have an anonymous section at the bottom of the New York Times for like comments or something like that. People would just enter some random name and then you don't really know if it's them or not. They can just say, I am a I'm John from Chicago and I say XYZ. So you want to make sure people are logged in so that you verify that they are supposed to be on your website before you do anything. Now, there's a whole bunch of setup if you were to set it up on your own, but essentially what Devise gives you is a method called Authenticate User. Now, we have this before action, and this is going to happen before anything happens on the post controller. So if I go to /posts, if I go to /post/1/edit or something like that, or if I say I want to delete anything inside of this post directly, I'm not so fast. I'm going to say before anything happens, I'm going to authenticate the user. This is something that's built into Devise by default. So again, let's say, since I've added that, if I go to /posts, it brings me actually automatically to this page right here. It says you must sign in or sign up before continuing. Let's say I want to just do post/11, and I want to edit the 11th post. It says, sorry, you need to sign in or sign up before continuing. It stops you ahead of time so that you can't get to that stage. All right, so if we load the app, we're able to register, we're able to log out, we're able to log in. Not everything is the way that we like it because the username has disappeared when I go into john@email.com. Ooh, could not find post with ID 11. That's because I only created 10. Okay, it says like hello blah, right? So we're gonna just change a few things up with that. So like I said a little bit earlier, the good part about Devise is most of the time, a lot of this stuff is built in for you. You don't need to do anything. It's already finished. But if you take a look, there's no controller for Devise, but you know that there's controllers underneath the hood. There's no views that you have here at all that correspond to this login page. Like, I can't even say like this. Let's look in the entire app for the term "remember me." So this is inside of the devise.rb, but it's not a view. It's not showing up to the screen. So where does this all exist? Because it's not here in our app. And what's happening is behind the scenes, Devise has its own controllers that it's running through. It has its own like logging in and logging out screens. Like all the words that you see here on this login page, it's all built into Devise. Sometimes I'm going to need to change it. Like I added a name on here. Like my form does not have access to that name when I register for a new person. So we're going to run this right here. Bundle exec rails g devise views -p. And Kara mentioned this yesterday. What does the -p do? Yeah, I didn't actually know it was preview. That's actually pretty good. It makes sense. So this
say pretend. Like pretend.
Pretend. Could be pretend. It could be preview. Essentially, what you're doing here is by adding this -p, it's actually saying like, if I were to run this, and if I were to run this, this is what it would do. So this -p is basically say, just do a dry run. Don't actually run this, but like show me what would happen if I were to run this. You can kind of see that when I run bundle exec rails g, it creates a whole bunch of like all the views that actually happen underneath the hood. So there's things for confirmations, if you need to reset your password, if you need to like create a new registration or something like that. These are all things underneath the hood that Devise is taking care of for you. For us, right now, we actually do really need to change things with registrations specifically because we need to add the name field. So I'm going to run this portion. Now, this is a subset of all of these extra views that we have up here. It generates for me, now I am in charge of the new and the edit page of registrations. So I have to manage this now. Devise no longer takes care of it by default. I have to take care of it by default. I have to manage it now.
Where was the initial pointer that said to look for it in Devise, and now it says to look in your views folder for that point?
So when I ran this command up here, right, this is saying, show me all the views that Devise gives me for free, like underneath the hood. There's things for confirmations. There's things for passwords. There's things for registrations and for sessions and unlocking. And there's mailers for, like, here's how you can confirm that you are actually registered and signed up. Here's the email change and all that kind of stuff. So this is all the things that Devise gives you. So right now when I run Rails generate Devise views -v registration, I'm saying that, all right, generate the actual, like, instead of Devise handling it, I want you to put all of these views inside of my app right now. All the ones
like a config setting that says, oh, now these are in views, and before they were like handled by Devise.
That's going to be put in the
Config.
in the next step. So it's not there yet.
kind of.
Registrations has to be set in the Devise 4 routes on the line where it says Devise 4. You have to indicate for the registration controller stuff. I want you to make sure to look at the registrations controller that we're about to build. So we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So a few things. So yeah, so this is what's going on underneath the hood. Devise takes care of a lot of views, right? And we're saying, like, there's certain things that you do well, but we want to do better. So, like, by default, it doesn't have a name option when you log in and log out. I want to add that. So I need to manually take care of all the registrations views. And if you take a look now under views, this wasn't here before. I have Devise, I have registrations, I have new, and I have edit. I'm going to add this little section for my name inside of new and inside of edit.
Everybody see where that got added? I know it's like a lot of code.
Yeah. So there's a field for email and there's a field for name. That's all. I just added this little bit. If we manage all the views and we're changing the forms, that means we also have to manage the controllers because we have to add those kind of parameters in as well. So I'm going to create a new file under controllers called registrations controller. Oops. Fix up some spacing real quick. Now this registrations controller inherits from Devise registrations controller. So Devise has its own registrations controller, and we're creating our own version of that. So the sign-up parameters basically before didn't have this name attribute. It was just this, just email, password, and password confirmation. But since our person has a name, we're going to add the name inside of the sign-up params and the account update params. And then finally, we have to jump into the routes here and say that by default, we're going to use all of the default things that Devise has for our users, except for the registrations controller. The registrations controller, we're actually going to point it to our own registrations controller, which is just an inherited version. We're just changing up the sign-up params and the update params. So we'll run, let's kill the server for fun. Load it up one more time. And let's see. Okay, so I'm here. I'm going to go to /posts. Nope, you need to sign up or sign in before continuing. Great, I will register as a new person. We'll do Kara at karacodes.com. Net?
Oh, it's Kara.codes.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Okay. Kara, her password is 123123, 123123. So now you'll notice that there was a name. There was no name earlier. Actually, there wasn't. Yeah, there was no name earlier when I was able to sign up. But now I have that. When I sign up here, it says hello Kara, because it's when I sign in, Devise is taking care of like the logging in process for me. It's saving the person that's logged in as current user, and current user has something on there which allows me to current user is the object inside the database. Rails C user.last. So I have, this is current user right now. This is the object inside of the database. It has Kara at Kara.codes. The name is Kara. It's u equals underscore. Let's take a look at Kara's password. God.
Encrypted underscore password.
Cool. U.encrypted password. Okay. So when I signed Kara up, it saved her inside the database here. Now there are a lot of methods that are not publicly available on here. Like one of them is called encrypted password. So even though her password was 123123 when I saved it, this is what is actually saved inside the database. It's an encrypted version of it. Because when you read this, there is no way you can figure out what her password is unless you know the algorithm to break it. Please never save passwords as plain text inside your database. Like if there's ever one thing you learn inside this class that Kara and I teach you, like it's please do not store passwords in plain text. Because the moment your database gets hacked, all of your users are screwed probably across the board. One way to avoid this is kind of going off topic, but there's something called LastPass.
So most companies can't read the passwords you store. If they store them properly, they should never be able to read.
Accurate. That's correct. Yeah. You should not know your. It's kind of like saying like, should Amazon know my chase.com? Should Amazon know my password? Like the one that I constantly use, and the answer is no. We should never know that. Some of them probably do.
I remember like making calls back in the day. I can't be that long ago where I'd be like, I think my password's like this, and they'd be like, oh, you're really close. And you never.
Usually that's like your secret word or your PIN.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
You know those things. That's how you authenticate them.
Yeah. They should never just have clear access to your
They'll
password.
be like, we'll send you an email to reset. And then they never know what's.
Okay. This is kind of off topic, but I think that people should use something called LastPass. It's a personal. It's like a personal plug, I guess. Your passwords should be strong and they should be unique. I literally knew someone who had the password of Apple123. Kid you not, Apple123. I was like, that's the least secure password I can ever think of in my entire life. And they used it for everything. Their Amazon, their Chase. Like, I was like, God, like you must change your password. So if you have very weak passwords like that, you probably should change it. That being said, you want to have passwords like so now it's like you must have between like 12 and 16 characters. It has to have like $signs and bang symbols and capital letters and lowercase letters and stuff like that. It's a pain in the butt to memorize. So there's a lot of password like keychains that are like that you can attach. Like this can attach to Chrome. So you have to you can have a strong password that you know to sign into LastPass, and then LastPass can generate passwords for you.
Okay, this is free or paid or what's
It's free, yeah.
really?
So
My parents use it. It's definitely free.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they have this ability to generate a password. So I'm just going to generate a brand new one for every single different site. So this might be my Bank of America one. This might be my Chase.com. This might be my, whatever, car loan or whatever. You can just select this and copy it and then enter that as your password whenever you sign up for something. LastPass will basically keep track of, when Taylor goes to ToyotaCarPayments.com and they log in, the password is actually going to be like I'll know that this is the password that they're talking about. Make sense?
No.
Okay. So I generate the password here. It's very, very secure because I can't memorize this, let's be honest, right? And basically LastPass will have like a running dictionary where it's like Chase.com equals this. Like bankofamerica.com equals this. And then you never need to fill in the form yourself. LastPass will fill the form in for you.
Like you actually sign in to LastPass and like type Amazon.com.
Yeah. So you can kind of take a look at what we've got here, right? So it says like add to LastPass, localhost Kara. So I'm going to regret this, but I'm going to add this to my LastPass. So when I log out now, I'm here. I'm at users slash sign in. These dots right here. I can say, okay, I'm here. Okay, log in as blah. So they'll keep track of your username and they'll save their password inside of LastPass. And LastPass has all your passwords, and you need to log in with only one password to go into LastPass.
Isn't it?
But that just means that like if you lose your computer or something like that, or like
You have on everything. LastPass on your phone, on your computer, everywhere.
Yeah,
They have like your private key.
And you can like log on the website.
Yes, yes. I mean, nothing is like totally secure. So if LastPass gets hacked, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But it is harder to hack LastPass
because
than,
they're more aware.
There's probably all those crazy ones are also probably stored in some huge long hash password
Yeah.
in their database. So,
But does that mean like
Three step.
LastPass can read your passwords if they have your private key and your public key? Can anyone
I don't think
who
that
works
they
at
save your
it
private.
works like that.
I've used LastPass. I have lost my master password, and I have lost all my passwords.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a master password. Like they will not help you. Like they don't have that information. So if you don't have the thing that helps you unlock all the other stuff, then it's basically all gone. So they secure themselves by giving you that responsibility. It's much less than having the responsibility of 1,000 passwords, right? Which is the point of one password or LastPass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like you throw away the key and then like they take care of everything. You still have a major responsibility that if you don't take on, you will lose everything as well. But it's much safer.
You had two-factor authentication or something like that to
Yeah.
LastPass, and
Two-factor
it's sure.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah, the main point is just let the professionals at one thing take care of that instead of you taking care of it for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, that's a real down and dirty Kara.codes. And then this is a down and dirty way of just showing like logging in and logging out with using Devise. Main things were Devise takes care of a lot of stuff underneath the hood. All you need to do is just follow all the steps that we have here in your curriculum, and it'll set everything up for you. It takes care of registrations, logging in, logging out. All you have to do for any of your controllers, if you have a host controller or if you have like a categories with host controller, just add this line before action authenticate user, meaning that you must be logged in order to use this particular thing.
It's weird that it handles all the routes, despite you adding like in your registration controller, all you added was permit parameters.
Well, it's still doing all. So if we were to chase this down, right? I'm using Devise for user, so everything is like it takes care of everything except for the controller. Instead of using the registrations controller that they have, I'm using my version.
Yeah.
But when I go to my version, I'm still inheriting from their thing.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is updating the sign up params. All the routes are still there. All the actions are still the same. I'm just updating the sign up params and the updating account params. So yeah, down and dirty. We've created a CRUD app and with logging in and logging out in less than an hour.
Yeah, we'll generate.
I'm not. Please do not do that for your
No.
phone.
Let's launch this.
The other thing to note is that, like, right, you haven't done any commits, you haven't written any tests. Like, so it's not like you're going to do this in an hour, like, in real life.
Yeah.
You're going to want to make sure to do this, like, in good increments so that you have, like, safe steps to go back and